about building. They just stole Cormani from Florida and just got a stud linebacker to switch from Oklahoma. Cristobal is building. Take the ugly win and move on. 7 wins and a bowl win. It's 8. I mean, yeah, I don't really see how. Yeah. I mean, this is where we are now. This isn't like a video game or something where the dynasty isn't going so well. Where it's like, I'll just start a new one. Let me just start the year over again. Like, no, this is where we are. We have to live with it. And the signs were there. We hyped it up ourselves and let the media hype it up to where we all thought we were going to win 10, 11, 9 games, win the Coastal, and maybe we could get to the playoff this year. Could we get to the playoffs this year? No, but we let that hype it up with ourselves. But Cristobal has always known since the beginning. We've heard it come out where he's like, things were worse than I thought. This is a rebuild. We need a culture change. We need to change the culture. He's been saying it. It's been in front of us the whole time. So, yeah, we just need to keep stacking talent. And like I said last week, if we finish 7-5, 8-5 with the bowl win, then next year, 9-4. The year after that, maybe 10-2, 11-2. Year 4, like just steadily building, because I'd rather have that than.
And you can actually even speed that process up, because I have a feeling before the season's over, you're going to see guys hit the transfer portal, because Mario, especially after the Duke game, Mario hinted around. He didn't want to say anything in the press conference. You could tell that. But he was asked a question, because it's even obvious to reporters at this point. You just have some players out there half-assing it. And I think you're going to have him and the other coaches, tell some players, we got nothing for you anymore. Because, and I said this during the offseason, and this was one of my concerns coming into the season, and I may have even said it on here before. You still have guys on this team that were there Manny's first year, 2019, that were dancing on the sideline while we were losing to FIU.
And Louisiana Tech. And Duke.
Yeah. You still have some of those guys here. And with the way things have gone, I mean, you can't expect their attitude to change when there's such instability in the program. So I think this year Mario's just going to have to stabilize things and then grow from there. Now, I do think he can do it faster, and that was the point I was going to with bringing in transfers, because you got a lot of talented guys, fixing to leave A&M. That's going to be on their last shot.
Yeah, let's get some potheads over here, guys. Let's do it.
Well,
let's get some nice Texas stoners in here.
Hey, I'm all for giving somebody a second chance, but you have to make it clear to them, you're leaving one big time program for another because you screwed up. This is your last chance, because you're not going to go from A&M to Miami to some other big school.
Right. And I agree with Dark Code here. He says we can still beat FSU and Clemson. And yeah, like we were saying earlier, I mean, Clemson's our only certain win past this point, because I mean they're so weak that it's going to be easy just to walk all over them. So
yeah. Well, I mean, who we got to worry about? The ukulele? Yeah. I mean, he can't complete a pass. He's out there throwing 15 interceptions. Nobody's worried about him.
I'd like to see him and Tyler Van Dyke in a foot race.
That wasn't me.
No, that wasn't you, right? But yeah, Tyler Van Dyke and the ukulele. I'd like to see that foot race.
My money's on Van Dyke.
Like 15-second 40s.
I mean, DJ looks like a baby giraffe out there trying to run, just stumbling around.
Right. I always kind of thought he looked like one of those Rock'em Sock'em robots or whatever it was. He's just all stiff at everything he does. Yeah, that should be an interesting one.
Another shout out for this game. I got to give props to the defensive line. They played solid all year. I don't have a word to say about them. And they were even missing Njogbu for this game. Or no,
Mesidor.
Yeah, Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah, you said a name, and I was like, who?
I was thinking of another defensive lineman.
We had 2, 3.
Yeah, Dark Code.
Sacks.
I'd just like to win one of those games.
Yeah, right.
if we could pull off one of those games, I'll be happy.
We had 5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss today.
Yeah, the defense playing pretty good, really.
Yeah. And I mean, even the secondary is looking better. I'm gonna be honest with you because they've stopped throwing to Tyreek Stevenson's side of the field. You had who was it? Kitchens got his hand. I think that was the third overtime. Kitchens got his hand on that pass. I couldn't remember if that was the goal line or if that was one of the overtimes.
It was the goal line and the overtime. And the goal line where he just like went up and like tipped it with like his middle finger and it just dropped in the end zone. Because if he didn't do that, that would have been a touchdown. He was wide open.
Yeah, he was.
Hey, thanks MDB again. Maybe one of you guys knows the answer to this. He says worst O-line in the history of the program. And he says, so is Thad hurt? If not, he has to be transfer bound.
Actually, I did hear that Thad is hurt. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they'd want to keep Thad off the field. I don't really see. We were talking about players with like lack of effort, half-assing. I don't really see Thad as one of them. And and him, and yeah, a lot of times when he gets in the game where it's like he's this bruiser and he can only pick up like 1 or 2 yards. It's kind of hard to pick up 1 or 2 yards when you have the O-line we have with the injuries we have right now. So.
Now, I don't know if this is the worst O-line in the history of the program. I mean, you can crack the books and go back to the 30s and 40s and find some really bad O-lines. The 70s, too.
Well, yeah, you start going back to the 70s. And
I mean, Slim, this program only started in 1983, so we're just going to go from there. Nothing just before that counts.
Block out everything before that. Hey, maybe we could block out everything for the past 18 years as well.
Well, no, you can't block. You had guys like George Myra and Ted Hendricks and all that before then, and those are Hall of Fame guys. So I ain't gonna block all that out. It is what it is.
So you're not gonna go Ron Swanson and just say that everything before 1776 was a lie?
But I mean, I do agree with this point. I mean, this is an absolutely terrible offensive line. And I don't know why it's a surprise to anybody. I mean, along with the linebacking core, that was one of my biggest concerns coming into the year because you had all those upperclassmen on the offensive line last year, and they're all gone. And we still saw what we got out of them. So what did you think that we were going to get out of the guys that aren't the upperclassmen and have all those starts?
Yeah, and Bosworth, that's what we were just talking about. I would say, and it'll be funny too. It'll be really funny if, after all that money they've spent and all that, if Texas A&M, if they just lose.
Hey, we're spending money too, man. We've probably spent like the equivalent GDP of a small African country to get this recruiting class. Okay. So.
Actually, from everything I'm seeing, they're kind of going the Texas route. They're putting everybody, on about a, 50 to 75 grand a year pay scale, which I think really works out best because then you don't end up with, one player on the team with a multi-million-dollar deal and a couple other players with, $100,000 deal or something like that, and then everybody else with nothing.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and then they can't pull a Quinn Ewers where he goes to Ohio State for 1 year for $1 million, and then he's like, well, I'm going to go to Texas because they're also giving me $1 million.
Yeah, well, he ain't going to be the only one because I'm still waiting to cash in on that winning lottery ticket as soon as Travis Hunter dips out of JSU because it's going to happen.